So if you watch me replace this, it's a Stanley 45 plane. I picked it up for quite a deal. Just cleaned it up, restored it, had to fix some things on it. I'll put a link somewhere in there, somewhere in the description or up here somewhere, so you can watch that video if you want. But now we're going to make a box for it. I've decided it kind of needs its own storage place to keep from getting banged around. So I've got some 3/4 inch oak here. I just picked it up from the hardware store. And then I've got some 1/4 inch oak here. And we're going to build a box out of it. And the idea behind it is that I'm going to use the Stanley 45 to cut all the joinery for it. Now, I'm going to have to use some saws and stuff to cut it down to size, but I'm going to use this to cut the grooves that'll hold this 1/4 inch plywood in the top and bottom. And then I'm going to use that same 1/4 inch blade to cut kind of an L tongue and groove on each corner. So come along, let's get started. So I started by using a card scraper to clean up the glue line, remove any excess glue, and make the board as even as possible. I had to glue a couple boards together to get the height I needed, and then I took it to the table saw, and I actually had to rip a little bit off, about 2 inches, because they didn't make a board big enough that was cost effective. So I bought 2 smaller boards, glued them together, and then ripped them on the saw. So getting to know how to use this plane, it's a little different than just your standard plane. It takes a minute to adjust. Right here I'm doing the first scoring cut, trying to get the 2 side cutters to kind of dig into the wood, and then the next few are me adjusting the plane to the depth of cut so that I'm getting a good shaving out of there. So I learned on this 4-foot piece of oak, it was easier to kind of plane one half of it and then move to the next half so that I had about a 2-foot stroke, rather than trying to do all of it in one long stroke. I waited to break it down into its final lengths here at the miter saw so that all the grooves would be exactly lined up. So on these first cuts on the sides, where I was going to do the groove, I first used the plane to mark it, and then I took a little Japanese pole saw and cut the ends out so that it reduced the amount of breakout that I had. So once I had the sides with all the grooves cut, I moved on. I changed the plane over. I changed the blade out to the 1/2-inch blade instead of the 1/4-inch blade I had in there. Because now I was going to cut the tenons on the next pieces. I did the same thing on this. I just marked where the cuts were going to be, and then just with a little Japanese pole saw, cut the faces to reduce the amount of tear out I was going to get. Once I had all the grooves cut, there's the whole glue up. I'm not going to go through the whole glue up. I'm going to kind of fade through it. But the glue up went really well. Once the glue was dry, I took it out of the clamps. I gave it a good sanding down to 220 grit. And then I broke all the inside edges manually just with a piece of 220 grit. And this box was actually the culmination of kind of 3 projects that I wanted to do. I wanted to build this box for the Stanley 45, and I wanted to restore the Stanley 45, but I also wanted to mark this box with my logo. And so I had built myself a branding iron that you see me using here to brand the box. And I had finished most of the plane, but I didn't want to move on until I had the box, and I didn't want to finish the box until I had the brand. So I kind of finished all of them within a few days of each other. And the brand turned out really well. There's a video of that build as well as the restoration of the Stanley 45. Like I said, it's kind of a culmination of those 3 projects. So I used some Danish oil to finish the box here. And I I really like Danish oil. It's natural look. It's a really easy finish to put on. And it made this box really, really look nice. And I'm really happy with the way my brand turned out, and it looks really good on the side of this box. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Hit like and subscribe for any future videos, as well as go back and watch some of my past ones.